Hi, I'm Dana and I'm 28 years old, so I left high school 12 years ago now, and I still think about it semi-regularly because at least once a month I still wake up and I don't know what I've been dreaming of or what's happening in my mind or whatever else, but I wake up thinking I need to get ready for school, and then I wake up in my current bedroom and I'm like, I don't need to get ready for school because I'm not in school, because I'm a grown up now, and I feel such immense fucking relief. It does not matter how difficult my life is, it doesn't matter what I'm struggling with, I have so much relief over the fact that I don't have to go to school again. The relief of it, the absolute relief of it. So even though I don't particularly want to and I don't really dwell on it, I still think about high school relatively often and how much I just fucking despised it. So it's one of those things where this is still going to be very much my experience, but I especially try to keep it to like my current experience because I don't feel like there's much or any support for adults and I can at least provide a little bit of something. But I also think that for a lot of us, high school was like amongst the absolute worst times of our lives. And I also realise that I have some people that are younger that are maybe still in high school. I don't really know why you're watching me, I don't necessarily think you should be, but sometimes people comment or send me messages and you're quite young. And I think for a lot of people that are currently like going through the process of self-diagnosing or trying to reach a diagnosis or just trying to figure out if they're autistic, it's looking back on our past selves and sort of seeing the most natural base behaviours that we had and just the way things went for us before we had any sort of those considerations. I found extremely helpful in being able to like go to doctors and be like, I actually think that I'm autistic, you know? Like just going off how I am as a person now, I could write so much about off on like I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm this, I'm that, because I'd been given all those misdiagnoses. And it was often when like reflecting on my past, I was like, oh no, like this stuff's always been there. It's not like I turned 16 and became a teenager and was depressed all of a sudden. Like this stuff was always there and my parents just ignored it. So it wasn't until I was like becoming a fully functioning, thinking, actual person that I could be like, wait a minute, you know? So that's sort of the point of this video, and we're going to get into it now. This is going to be a list that's not in any sort of order whatsoever, and I'll go into each point, but it is I'm reading it off a list, you know? And it's quite a long list, so this might be quite a long video, so I've got a cup of tea, you might want to get one too. And I'm just going to try and sort of like encapsulate what my high school experience was like, because every day was fucking terror. So I was originally going to write this in some sort of chronological order and it didn't happen, so we're not. But the first one that I have is saying here during attendance. So I went to multiple different schools. I moved schools quite a lot. Initially we moved schools in the UK to like schools in the local area because I was just so horrendously bullied, and especially when I was younger I was bullied in ways where it was physical, you know, like I would be going home with like cuts and bruises and being like, yeah, such and such did this to me physically. So the bullying had to be taken seriously, and when I got older and it was like psychological torment, it didn't so much need to be. But every new school that I went to and every single day that I was in school, they'd call the register, and schools that I went to had different ways of saying it. I also went to schools in different countries, so I would have to like, and also my last name's Anderson, so I was quite often the first person on the register. I had to realise, like figure out if I was saying here, if I was saying yes, if I was being like I didn't know, you know, like each school did a different thing, and every single morning it just gave me the absolute fear of having to like use my voice in front of everyone, you know? And especially having the type of family where I would be woken up in the morning and I would go and be sick, and I quite often didn't say a fucking word. I would just be getting shouted at and told to get ready and having the brush dragged through my hair and whatever else. So like quite often when saying here or hello or hi or yes during attendance, it was the first time I was speaking that day and my voice would do something funny, or I would say the wrong thing, or like there were just so many discrepancies, like it could go so many different ways, and it terrified me every single fucking day. I absolutely hated it, especially in high school. They would take attendance for each class, and it just, from the moment I walked in, I would be fucking dreading it. I hated it. I absolutely despised it. And I get why they do it. I'm not saying like don't take the register, but it fucking horrified me. I absolutely hated it. It put the absolute fear into me. It made me so uncomfortable. And it was very much that way with any sort of public speaking. And when I would tell them like in school, like, oh, I'm not good with public speaking, I think they thought like I don't want to get up in front of the class and have everyone stare at me in order to give an essay to just describe something or whatever else. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that whatsoever. But also just speaking, just being sat in my chair, having to say here, having to answer a question, any of it, put the absolute fucking fear into me, and I hated it. And it's also, most of these things are things that were backed up by like, well, I've had a bad experience with it, you know, like I've said here when my voice cracked or I've gotten a question wrong, and it's become like the thing that I'm being teased for that week, that month, that whatever. I fucking hate it. I don't want to give them any more fodder. It was terrifying. And that kind of bled into, I absolutely hated doing group projects because I didn't want to speak in front of anybody. I absolutely fucking hated speaking in school. I didn't, like, I would have my friends that I would talk to sometimes at break. Like, I quite often just didn't have any fucking friends either, I won't lie to you. But I would have like the handful of people I felt comfortable speaking to. Speaking to anybody else was a fucking nightmare, and I hated it, and it terrified me. So we'd be doing group projects and I just wouldn't say shit, and I would be watching people like do things wrong, have wrong answers, have like just fuck it up absolutely completely, and I'd just sit there and watch them fuck it up because I was like, I don't want to speak to them, you know? Like, at least if I just leave them to do it wrong, I'm not having to talk. And every now and again it would be a topic that I was actually excited about and I would want to have input, and it would go badly, you know? Like, it would be the wrong thing, I would have gotten the wrong end of the stick, my excitement would mean that I would just like completely miss what we were meant to be doing. Like, a lot of the times that I participated in group projects, I did something fucking wrong. And even if it wasn't the actual work, it would be socially. Like, I don't remember doing a group project in school that didn't result in the people that, like, I probably didn't know them properly beforehand. You know, like, there'd be people that I saw in class and heard answer questions or whatever, but I hadn't spoken to them, I didn't know them. This group project would be my first interaction with them, and it would make them fucking hate me. And similarly, it was a fucking nightmare having to choose partners. I much preferred when they just put us into groups, because having to look around the room and watch everyone else make eye contact with someone and no fuckers making eye contact with me, even the other kids that don't have anyone making eye contact with them are not making eye contact with me. No one here wants to be in a group with me, and at some point the teacher's gonna have to step in and put me into a group, and it's fucking humiliating, and I hated it, and I wanted to cry every single time. And it was that's one of the big things where, like, if I was already having a rough time in school, which like a lot of the time I fucking was, when the teacher said get into groups, get into twos, get into pairs, whatever, I would just burst into tears and I'd have to leave the classroom. I would, like, now that I'm talking about it, it basically triggered a meltdown for me eventually, because I was like, no one's gonna look at me, no one's gonna want to be in a team with me. Like, I don't, this is humiliating, it's horrible. I would much rather just do it on my fucking own. And I quite often asked teachers if I could, and was fairly often allowed, especially when I would be at a school for like a slightly longer period of time, so they'd gotten to know me and they'd seen how I was in group projects. They'd be like, you can do it on your own. But especially in new schools, they'd be very, no, you need to like interact with the other students, we'll put you into this group with this girl that'll talk to you. And it was always just fucking horrible. And if it weren't the students that were hating me, it was fucking teachers. There were a couple of schools in Denmark that, like, I don't think anyone fucking knew me well enough to know me, because I already hated speaking to people, and I sure as fuck wasn't speaking to anyone in Danish. So they were okay. But every English school that I went to, and Welsh school, like every British school that I went to, there would just be one teacher that fucking hated me for, like, as far as I'm aware, no reason. I was a child and they were an adult, and I think it's really weird some of the things that teachers did and said to me. Like, my year 6 teacher, I was fucking terrified of, and my parents had loads of meetings with her, because it was one of those things where, like, she just very clearly did single me out. Like, especially looking back, most lessons she would just pick on me for something. I remember getting sent out of her classroom once because I had a stain on my shirt and it was going to distract the other students, and I was like, it's literally from my dinner, like, it's a food stain from me dropping food down myself during dinner, and you're sending me out. And she was like, yeah, it's distracting to the other students, you're always like this, and now you're making a big deal out of it. You know, like, she would pick at me for these like completely unreasonable things, and I'd be like, this is completely unreasonable, and she'd be like, you're always like this, you do this, you're so disobedient, you're this, you're that. And like, I was 10, 11 years old, and she was like a middle-aged woman, and she would be like that. And we had so many meetings with her, and she would literally be crying in front of my parents saying, I don't know why Dana's so scared of me, I don't know why it's like this. And it's like, because every single lesson I have with you, which is every single day because I'm in primary school, you fucking scream at me for something. Like, you are bellowing at me at the top of my lungs, everyone is staring at me, you're just this like full-grown woman towering above me in front of all these fucking bright lights while everyone stares at me, and you are screaming at me and calling me names in front of everyone. And now you're crying in front of my parents and saying that you don't know why I don't like you as a teacher. Like, I also had my year 10 and 11 form tutor, and I always want to name her, and I feel like I have in the past, but I'm not going to this time. But she lost coursework. There was coursework that I had done it and I gave it to her, and she insisted that I hadn't, and I knew full well that I fucking had. I insisted so much and was so like I fucking did it. I'd wrote like however many thousand words that she wanted from it. So I'd done my coursework, and I ended up not getting like the mark for it, and thus got a really fucking poor mark in history, even though I'd done the work, because she very simply just, I honestly think she fucking binned it on purpose. And there were things like that all the time. Like, I'll admit it was not often that I did fucking homework. Oh, I'll move my tea for you, here you go. I'll admit it wasn't often that I did my homework. A lot of teachers just stopped asking me for it when they did the rounds, because they knew that I had not fucking done it. And if they phoned my parents, my dad would be like, well, why should she be doing schoolwork at home? Why can't you do it in school? So they just didn't bother. But she was like such a fucking bitch about it that I would do it because she fucking scared me. I think that's the thing as well. These teachers always thought that like I was this like little troublemaker that thought it was really funny to make them angry, and it's like they scared the shit out of me. Like I absolutely was not intentionally doing anything to piss them off, because they scared the fuck out of me. I cried most times that I was shouted at, you know? I think that's the thing as well, is that like I wasn't this like there was this perception of me by some other students and by some teachers that I thought I was like a proper rebel, and I was like so like out there and different to everyone and special, and like everything fucking terrified me. I was in a constant state of like panic and anxiety. I had no idea what the fuck I was meant to do. I was terrified all the fucking time, and they'd be like, you just love this, don't you? And I was like I would quite often literally be crying, and people would just be like, oh, and you're always like this, and I'd be like, I don't know what I'm like it was horrible. You know, it's very much one thing to get it from students, but it's such a different vibe when it's like, why do full-grown adults just take this like extremely strong dislike to me? It's so fucking weird. And especially now that I'm an adult, the way that some teachers like spoke to me and shouted at me, and just like the way teachers behaved, I can't imagine behaving like that as an adult. Like in any way, like not even in like it's not an appropriate way to behave around children. Like it's just not an appropriate way to be with anybody. It's insane to me they were like that. Now, one of my biggest concerns throughout like the entirety of school, primary school and high school, was where the fuck I was going to spend break times. And this is where I'm a phone person now. Like if I'm out in public and I don't know where to be or what to do, I'm on my phone, because it doesn't look that weird to be a person stood on your own looking at your phone. I couldn't do that in high school. They'd take your phone off you. So I would go and find little hiding places where I could like read a book or draw a picture, or just like generally fuck about on my own, not bothering anybody or doing anything naughty until the bell rang and I could go to a lesson and have somewhere to be, because I didn't want to just stand on the playground on my own. There was one bench that like one group had claimed, so it's not like I could sit down and read my book. If I sat down and tried to read a book on the floor somewhere, someone would pull it away and be like, oh, what are you reading, what are you doing? Like it would, every time it became a whole fucking thing. If I went and attempted to just do my own thing, in an area where people could see me doing it, they would ruin it, they would interrupt, they would take my things off me, they would bully me, like every fucking time. So I would scurry about the school and find little hidey holes where the teachers wouldn't be able to spot me when they were doing their rounds to send everyone outside at lunchtime. I would just find them and stay there, and teachers would come and chase me away. So every single fucking break time I ever had in school, it was the absolute panic of like, am I going to be able to go here? Am I going to be able to go there? What if I go here and there's already people there? I'm gonna have to just turn around and find somewhere else. Oh, and if a teacher chases me from this space, I'll be able to go to that place. Like, it was the most logistics I have ever fucking done to try to just avoid being seen by people while I was in school, you know? The odd times that I had friendship groups, the biggest relief of it was that I had somewhere to be. There was a table that they would sit at, and I would be able to go and sit at that table and not have to worry about eating my lunch somewhere else, eating my lunch. And see, that's the thing in my school as well. The way the bathrooms were, that was where like the actually rebellious, like naughty kids hung out. So if I went and tried to eat my lunch in there, I would immediately have some girl popping over top being like, oh, Dana's eating her lunch in the toilets, that's so dirty. Like, I could not go to the bathroom in school. If it was break time, I could not go to the bathroom because I would, like, I couldn't piss. They would be watching me, you know? Like, I could not go to the bathroom during break times because there would be girls in there. So I would just have to go and find other little spaces around the school. And I quite often had teachers, to be fair, like, especially my English teacher, such a typical, like, autism lesbian thing. I fucking loved my English teacher. He was just this little old man, and he he was so fair and reasonable, and he just was understanding, you know, like I don't ask for that much from people, I don't think, and he provided it. And so often he would find me on, like, I had the stairs up to the drama classroom was a really nice hangout, because that was like set back so teachers would glance down and not notice you, and I could just stay there a lot of the time. I liked the little like weird bit we had by the science block and the little bit by the music department, and those were my areas. And he would quite often find me, because he did like proper checks, because kids would be like scrolling on walls and bollocks. Like, my school had a lot of like very naughty students, so he would find me and I'd be like, look sir, I'll go out there and I'll have like 10-15 minutes until someone's doing something that really upsets me and I start crying, and then you have to come over and you have to sort out the whole issue anyway. Can we and like, I'm just gonna scurry back and try and hide somewhere, so can we just skip that part and just let me stay here? And he'd be like, are you just reading? Yeah, okay, you can stay here. My memory ran out, so I had to do a whole thing, so we're back. It might look a bit different, we're doing it still. Not entirely sure where it cut out, so yeah. I got chased out of my little hidey spaces. Figuring out where to hide in break times was one of the biggest concerns that I had in school, and also figuring out how I was going to get out as quickly as possible to avoid having any sort of like altercation with somebody on the way out, and also trying to arrive extremely early because I was really fucking anxious if I didn't, but not be seen until the bell rang. That was a big one as well. Another big one that's kind of gross, so apologies for that, but I had to think quite a lot about where I was going to throw up if I couldn't get to the bathroom. I threw up quite constantly, honestly, during high school. Most days I was throwing up somewhere, unintentionally, by the way, like, plenty of eating disorder shit going down, but mostly unintentionally in school. I would just get so anxious and so overwhelmed and so overstimulated, and whatever I'd eat, like, I often did, like, by high school I straight up didn't eat breakfast and would eat as little as possible at lunch, just to lower the chances of being sick more than anything, like more so than any sort of eating disorder reason. It was that if I ate before or during school, I was almost guaranteed to throw up. Like, it just happened all the fucking time. So I eventually stopped doing it, but even then I would just throw up bile. That happens to me still. If I get really overwhelmed, overstimulated, if I'm just like having a whole fucking time, I'm going to throw up. And like I said, if that was happening at break time, I couldn't go to the bathroom because I would have girls peering over the edge and be like, oh, she's fucking throwing up, oh, you're touching the bathroom floor, you dirty bitch. Like, it was a horrible fucking thing. So I had various spaces around the school where I knew there was some sort of receptacle that I could throw up into without being seen. And honestly, so it should fucking be, because I did put so much fucking effort into it, but I'm fairly sure I never actually threw up in front of anyone's school. Like, I had like the area that was around like the back of like the electrical building thing, I threw up there all the fucking time. I threw up there so often before school. That was one of my big spots. The sinks in the art department, there was like a separate little like art room, and there were big sinks in there that didn't have like plug drain things, so if there were any chunks it could just wash down. I was very aware of which teachers left their classrooms unlocked during break times and during like when there wouldn't be people in there, and I would use their bin. A lot of my teachers probably found vomit in their bins and was like, what the fuck? It was me. I had so many, like, just various different places where I knew it was very unlikely anyone would see me. There's a drain, there's something to catch it or get rid of it, and I'm gonna do it. There were several times that I would be having, like a lot of times that I would be having like some sort of an altercation essentially with a teacher, and I would just get too overwhelmed and I would know that I was about to be sick and I would storm out, and the next day I'd come back to school and they'd be like, oh, you think you're such a rebel because you're storming out on a teacher. And it was nothing to do with like any sort of like emotional like fuck you type of thing. It was purely, I'm about to throw up and I don't want everyone to see it. Unrelated, I quite often had to worry about my clothes falling apart. My clothes were hand-me-downs, they were cheap, they were pre-loved in whatever way. My parents refused to splash out on getting me like good clothes, so I would quite often just have buttons coming off my shirts, off my blazer. There was a point where I was walking down the corridor and someone tapped me and was like, something's happening, and I looked down and the sleeve of my sweater had like caught on something at some point, and like half my sleeve was gone and there was just like a trail of yarn behind me. My shoes were constantly falling apart during school. There were times that I was trying to glue the sole of my shoe back on with Pritt Stick. There were times that I was sellotaping my shoes back together during school. My clothes would just fall the fuck apart because they were old, they were used, they were incredibly cheap, they were from charity shops. There was a massive point where I was in like an absolute battle with teachers who very clearly again thought sure that I was being like super rebellious because I was wearing black jeans to school instead of black trousers, and very simply my mother wouldn't buy me fucking trousers. I didn't have any money. Occasionally my dad would give me £3.20 to go and get a coffee from Costa Coffee. I'd get me fucking pants then, bitch. Like there was a point, like it probably went on for like 2.5 months where they were calling my mum and she was like, deal with it, and then they would try and like convince me to wear my school trousers, and I'd be like, I can't, I don't have any. And it was after like months of this that one was like, what do you mean you don't have any? And I was like, I don't own any fucking trousers. There were a bunch of times that like I would get grilled over something. I would eventually just have a fuck off big breakdown and provide them all the context, and they'd be like, well shit. And I still do that now because I'm sorry, I don't know why you need to know like everything about me to have a little bit of empathy, you know? But like it eventually got to the point where like I had an absolute meltdown on our teacher, and I was like, do you think I want to do this every single morning of my life? I already come into school, I was so anxious, having an absolute time, and then I get here and I get dragged off into your classroom for you to shout at me and tell me off and tell me I'm being this and doing this, and I don't have any trousers to wear. All I like, if I'm not wearing black jeans, it's going to be blue jeans because they're all I own, they're all I have. My parents haven't bought me, like my mother is constantly telling me off for how expensive the school jumper with the fucking crest emblazoned on it is, and the fucking official blazer that you have to have for the school. She refuses to buy me pants because the rest of it costs so much money. What do you want from me? What am I meant to do? And she was just like, oh god, okay, all right. Like there was the odd thing that I did to just try and have some level of like individuality in school. Like I would wear jewellery, I would wear my pin badges. There was a point when my buttons were already coming off my fucking shirt anyway, and the only ones that I had were colourful, to be fair, but even if they hadn't been, it would have been the fun coloured ones that I was gonna put on. And like I don't get why that was an issue. Even now as an adult, why does it matter if my shirt buttons are fun? We wear a jumper anyway with a tie. You can't actually like, it was at some point when I'd been like getting changed for something, or like my shirt hadn't been on me, like I wasn't wearing the shirt when a teacher picked it up and was like, why have you done this to your buttons? But like I occasionally did little things like that to just try and have a little bit of like individuality. Like I was still an autistic teenager, you know, I wasn't perfect like all the fucking time. But the vast majority of my time when I was being told off for the way that I was dressed, for the way that my uniform was, for the way that I was dressed on non-uniform days, any of that, I was just working with what I fucking had, with very neglectful parents that didn't bother to buy me anything and didn't do that side of things. You know, like they will come to every single parents' evening all dressed up, acting like they really fucking give a shit about me and my education. They're the perfect middle class parents that are taking care of me so well, and they just don't understand why I'm like this, when the reality is that several of the things that are being brought up to them are a direct result of them not looking after me properly, like not buying me the right uniform. Like there was a fairly long period where I was also wearing like non-regulated school shoes. They were really fucking pissy about me wearing boots, and it was like, these are the only pair of shoes I have. Like I can't even like wear my trainers into school. I don't own trainers. I have this pair of boots, they are my shoes, that is all I have, you know? And the thing with uniforms as well is that it sucked being constantly fucking pulled in by teachers and sent off to here and put into detention, put into isolation because you're not wearing the right uniform. But the abuse and bullying and just the horrible shit that was said to me for having like the wrong type of uniform, the wrong shoes, the wrong bag, the wrong fucking whatever was supposed to be like cool and trendy, not having it, or having like the cheap imitation of it, the wrong version of it, any of that type of shit happened all the fucking time. Like everyone was into the Pull Boutiques bags, and everyone had like a certain type of carrier bag for their PE kit, and I never fucking got any of it. I didn't know where they were getting it from. I didn't particularly like it. Like I just never had the right stuff and would be laughed at and taken the piss out of for it, and that also fucking sucked. And especially the amount of times that I would think that I had the right thing, like I thought I'd gotten the right fucking tights like everybody else wore, and I just got ripped to fucking shreds for having hairy legs under my tights. Everyone got into the satchel bag, so I got one of the fucking satchel bags, and everyone hated the colour of it, and they were like, what brand is it? It's not this brand that we're getting. Like, it was just never the right fucking thing. I always did it wrong. If I went into school without makeup on, people were like, oh, Dana doesn't like wearing makeup, she's still a child, she doesn't like looking good. If I went in with makeup on, Dana's trying so hard, look at how Dana's trying to look good, but she doesn't. Like, nothing I could do with the other students, like in trying to fit in, trying to belong, any of it, none of it ever fucking worked. You know, like if I didn't try, it was just automatically the wrong thing and I wasn't bothering. If I did try, I was trying too hard and it's the wrong thing you're trying anyway. That was also a fucking nightmare. And at the time, I was very like, if I just do the right thing, like if I just keep trying, eventually I'll have the right things and do the right things and I'll fit in and everyone will like me and suddenly this will all be easy and okay. So I kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. But looking back as an adult, I am sort of like, they weren't going to like me, you know? Even if I'd had all the right things and like, unless I changed the person that I am to not be autistic and to suddenly say the right things and behave in just the right way and do the right facial expressions, like unless I literally changed who I was as a person, they weren't gonna fucking like me. And it is kind of rough being like, am I just a deeply unlikable person because I'm autistic? But like, maybe, I don't know. Alongside having like just general signs of neglect that no one picked up on thanks to my parents, there was also I got sent to a Catholic school for the last like 2.5, 3 years of high school, and we had planners that your parents had to sign. And I've talked about this before because my dad didn't like his handwriting, so quite often I would take it to my dad and he'd be like, I'll get your mum to do it, or he'd say he was busy, and it's like, you literally just need to do your signature on one page. But sure, I'll go and ask my mum. And sometimes she would just sign it, sometimes she would sign it for like months in advance, and I'd then get in trouble for that because you're not meant to do that. And other times I'd be like, can you sign my planner please, mum? They're gonna, like, we would get detentions. We were quite like, I don't want to say severely punished because it was like a British high school in like 2012, like we weren't getting caned, you know, like it wasn't that deep. But for like the punishment levels that the school had, that was still like fair, you know, like some of them were bullshit, like on like a punishment level they're just like silly, but like they were the fair punishments in the school. You got quite severely punished for not having your parents sign your fucking planner. So I would take it to my mum, already anxious about getting in trouble for yet another thing of not having my planner signed. Like, I'm gonna go into school and I'm gonna get pulled up for like 6 different things before the day has even fucking started. So can you just sign this planner so I have one less thing to get pulled up about? And she'd look me dead in the fucking face and she'd go, my face bothered? And I'd be like, Mum, please just sign the planner. And she'd be like, is my face bothered though? And we would be there for like 20-25 minutes with me getting increasingly more overwhelmed and upset and frustrated and being like, can you please sign my planner? That I'm going to get into trouble. You are the parent here, you're my mother. They need a parent or guardian, aka fucking you, to sign my planner so that I don't get into trouble for not having my fucking planner signed. Like, bullshit, it's bollocks, I agree, it's fucking ridiculous, but I still need you to fucking do it. And I'm now crying, I'm red, and like, I'm having the worst time of my fucking life, and my mother is just looking me in the face while that is happening and going, is my face bothered though? Does my face look bothered? Is my face bothered though? I couldn't watch the Catherine Tate show for fucking years. I could barely stomach seeing her in Doctor Who. And like 2 years ago, she was going to come to Liverpool Comic Con and I bought a fucking ticket to go and have a picture with her. And I was like, I'm going to heal my childhood trauma of Catherine Tate. And she didn't fucking show up. And then it took me like 4 months to get refunded for it as well. But like just getting my parents to do the bare minimum that I required them to do for me to like go into school, you know, like getting them to buy me pens, pencils, notebooks, anything that I needed, just getting my parents to do what the fuck I needed from them, impossible fucking task. You know, schools require your parents for a lot of things, and last time I talked about this, I got so many people that were like, oh, I just learned to fake my mum's signature. I'm like, fucking goody for you, sorry I was too honest to avoid my childhood trauma from a parent that shouldn't have been like that with me. Like, what the fuck, sorry, apologies, I guess. Like, it just never crossed my mind to forge the signature because she just needs to sign my planner. She's right there, you know? Like, that's the thing with my parents a lot of the time, is my dad would be in his study and my mum would be in the living room, and they just wouldn't bother, you know? Like, they just couldn't be fucked. Like, a lot of the people that I've known personally who relate to, like, the type of parent that I had, their parents were alcoholics and addicts, and, like, I'm not saying it's an excuse or, like, okay in any way, but their parents had a reason for being so neglectful and not being, like, mentally present. And, like, sure, mine did too, because they were working a lot and trying to build their own business, and they were doing this and doing that, and they had a lot of mental strain, but they were also right there, you know? And they just didn't fucking bother. Oh, another really big one was having everyone realise that I was still a fucking child. And it's one of those things that's kind of sad to me now as an adult, because a lot of the things that I liked as like a 14, 15, 16-year-old, I do feel like, honestly, are fairly age appropriate for a teenager. It's just that teenagers have like moved on so fucking fast. I'm laughing saying that because one of my fucking big obsessions as a teenager was the Beatles, and now like it sounds like I'm being like, God, everyone just moved on so fast from the 60s, man, like the English invasion, come on. And I don't mean it like that, but I just, so many of the things that I liked, I feel like are pretty fucking fair for a teenage girl to like, and I was just torn to fucking shreds for it. Especially, we bring it up every fucking time. Massive Doctor Who fan. People laughed at me for that for years. I had so many Doctor Who based nicknames and just like bollocks and bullying from it. There was a point when my RE teacher that I massively fancied, she was all blonde and pretty and like she hadn't long graduated. 15-year-old me was absolutely in love with her, and she borrowed my Torchwood and Life on Mars DVDs for like some like PSHE type lesson that she was doing, and I was like, oh God, she's into me, she wants to borrow my BBC drama DVDs, like this is real now, guys. And it wasn't. She maintained full professionality. Like, as someone who was groomed by an adult at 16, I shouldn't be like, oh, I'm kind of disappointed about that, but like at least it could have been a woman and not a man. But she gave them back to me during class. The entire class of like 30 people saw that I was being given back DVDs of what they considered to be children's shows, and I was absolutely torn to shreds for that. And I was just, I felt so far behind everyone already, you know, like other people, like the times that I had friends, I'd be talking to them and they'd have gone to parties and they'd be giving hand jobs and kissing people, and I didn't have a fucking clue. Like I was so far removed from any of that kind of stuff, you know, so I already just felt so far behind and so like childish compared to everyone else and so immature. And like by the time I was getting into high school and by the time you're a teenager, a lot of people are sort of figuring out how to get a hold on their emotions. And like, obviously there's more outbursts and stuff than you have from adults because everyone's a teenager. But mine was so much more frequent and so much more visible and obvious and involved crying and sobbing and like not being able to speak. And like, I just felt like a child so often because I didn't know I was having meltdowns, you know. I was just like, everyone else can control themselves and can do this and can do that, and I'm completely incapable of it. I'm not like everyone else. I'm like a child still. So as soon as someone would notice something about me and call out something about me that like proved how immature and childish I was compared to everyone else, like even with being a Beatles fan, people were very like, the Yellow Submarine Band, that's what you're obsessed with. And I'd be like, no, listen to Oh Darling. And like they weren't gonna go and listen to Oh Darling, you know? Similarly, one of my absolute biggest fucking fears, and one that came true semi fucking regularly, was people finding my online accounts. I've had YouTube, I've had a YouTube channel of some degree since like 2009 probably, I think. And when I first started making videos, it was when you could still make video responses to other people's videos. Like that's what I did when I first started YouTube, was I would watch someone like review Doctor Who or talk about their opinions on Doctor Who, and I would do a video response being like, so I think you're right on this, and I think you're wrong about this, and my opinion on that is this, and I also think you're right about this, but I slightly differ from your opinion on this. That's what 12-year-old me was doing on YouTube, was literally like policing other people's Doctor Who opinions. And I think I did it in a nice enough way, to be fair. No one was ever like mad at me, but I was definitely being like real fucking autistic on main. By the time I was in high school, I was trying to make sketches, I was trying to like do creative, like I wanted to make movies, man, you know? And like there were various times that people found different videos and I would just, they wouldn't comment, you know, like there would be no indication that anybody had found this video, and then I would walk into school one morning and someone would quote it, or they would do like whatever sort of like dance or hand signal or whatever else I'd done in the video. Like they would do something that didn't say I've watched your video but did, you know, and I'd be like, oh fuck, here we go, here we fucking go. I remember at one point that happened while I had like a little friend group, and one of the girls was like, well, you could just not do this stuff, like it is weird and cringy, you know that, right? Like you can just not be like that. And I was like, what? I can just not pursue any of my hopes and dreams or try to be creative in any, like what the fuck? Did not compute to my teenage brain. And even as an adult, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the solution. It's not stop being fucking horrible to people, it's stop giving people an excuse to laugh at you in any way. Don't try. And to this day, the relief I feel over the fact that no one ever found my fanfiction.net account or my Tumblr account, thank God for that. Oh my god. There was a music lesson that we had. That was one of the few times that like everyone was on computers because we had so many issues with our ICT lessons. So like the only time that the whole class was on computers was when we were in music, and we all had one monitor to share between two people with our little keyboards in front of it. And there was a point when someone like 3 or 4 back was like, hey Dana, hey. And I was like, what? And they were like, I've just found your Tumblr account. The way I felt like the blood drained from my body, and I got up, and we weren't meant to, and the teacher was like, Dana, sit down, and I didn't sit down. I just walked over and looked at their screen, and it was some other bollocks. Like I don't remember what it was. I'm sure it was something to bully me with, but it wasn't my Tumblr account. And like, oh my god, the relief I felt that they hadn't actually found my Tumblr. Oh my god. And it again is because I think they would have been like, you're such a fucking baby, because I'd seen other people's Tumblrs and they all had like the pale goth, like grunge cool person aesthetic. Like they were on that side of fucking Tumblr, and if they came to mine, it was just a lot of gifs of Matt Smith doing the giraffe dance, you know, like, and a lot of like reposts of Ringo Starr's face. Like ugh. To be fair, one thing that I didn't have to worry about, I was very like openly bisexual on Tumblr back in the day. Hadn't realised I was a lesbian, would have been really useful if I had at the time. But I at least didn't have to worry about being outed, because that happened like 4 months after I moved to the high school I spent like the majority of time at. And I was always sort of aware that I wasn't straight. It was always very obvious to me. I always knew it. And as I figured it out, I was just outed real fucking fast. I always told the wrong people. I had the way it had happened when I was in that, like the last school that I went to that I feel the most relief about not having to go back to. I'd gone to like the local like LGBT teen support drop-in group thing that was going on. You know, when like gay teens flock and then you get taken out on little day trips sometimes, that. And there was a guy that went to my school that showed up and saw me there and was like, okay, showed up to school the next day, and everyone knows Dana's a dyke. And I did spend the next like year and a half, because it was bored up the entire rest of the time that I was at that school, I did consistently bring up, he was there too. Like I did consistently try to out the man, that the boy that outed me, and no one cared. No one cared to consider why this other person was also at the gay club for gay teens. Didn't matter to them. It mattered that Dana was a dyke. And my final one was, I hated when I would get pulled out of class for counselling sessions. It happened, like, from the age of, like, 12, I would be put into, like, various school counselling sessions as they, like, became a thing in the schools that I was in. I very rarely got told when they would be. I would just be sat in school, trying to do my work, trying to focus, trying to, like, participate in the lesson or whatever, and all of a sudden there'd be a knock at the door and someone would be there to take me out of the lesson. I would just have to gather all my shit up all of a sudden and leave, and I fucking hated that. I hated that everyone in the class knew what it was, that, like, what was going on and what it was for, because like I said, I was in high school, like, I guess technically for longer, but I consider it to be from 2011 to 2013, because that's when I went to the shitty fucking horrible Catholic school that I went to. And at that time it was really funny to joke about self-harm and eating disorders and killing yourself and all that kind of stuff, and everyone knew that I self-harmed, and it was a big joke, and it was really funny to be like, oh, do you listen to My Chemical Romance? So like everyone knew what was going on, they knew what it was for. And on top of that, I would then go to this counsellor, and I'm always, like, literally from the age of, like, 11 when this shit started, I've always been very like, well, if I don't tell them how I feel and don't tell them what's going on, then no one can help me. So I'm going to be fully honest in this and tell them exactly how I feel and exactly what I think and exactly what's going on with me. And I'm going to repeatedly find out that what tends to happen is they go, oh, but you're so young. Oh, you just need to make some friends. Oh, you're going to be fine. It's just being a teenager. And they're not going to take me at all seriously. They're going to act like I'm ridiculous. They're going to tell me, oh, it gets better when you get older, and then I'm going to be sent off. What I didn't realise was that because I'm a child, they would all tell my parents exactly what the fuck was going on. And I hated that for obvious reasons. I do feel like even as a child there should be some level of confidentiality, and I feel like maybe there is supposed to be, and they just didn't follow through on that. So there were various points at various schools with various different counsellors where I would bare my heart to these people, be completely invalidated and made to feel as though I'm ridiculous and I'm just being childish and I'll just grow out of it. I just need to stop thinking about it. I just need to make a friend or two and it'll all go away. It's just me being silly. And on top of that, they've gone back and told my parents all of my, like, deep, dark secrets that I didn't want them to know. And I found out this, like, a year and a half after they've started telling them everything. So at various points, I realised that my parents literally knew everything about, like, my mental health, my life, my self-harm, my eating disorders, like, everything that was going on with me, my parents knew about the whole entire time because various school counsellors were giving them the whole timeline of what was going on, and they just never fucking did anything or brought it up or mentioned it in any way. So all around, it was just quite a harrowing experience, and it very much felt like nothing you say is ever private, nothing you say is ever actually confidential, and no one's actually going to ever do anything to try to help you in any way. You're just going to have to learn to live like this. And that was a great message to be getting as like a 14, 15, 16-year-old. Also incredibly frustrating that throughout all of that, I was left to believe you're just a little bit anxious and depressed because you're a teenager, rather than like the glaringly obvious undiagnosed autism. Because like the same as I am now, I lived my life through the thing that I was invested in at the time. Like all of my counsellors would be very aware, because there would be a day that I would come in and I would have recently gotten into like fucking Supernatural or Sherlock or whatever else, and I'm doing my hair differently, I'm dressing differently. Helena Bonham Carter was a massive one for me at one point. I was trying real hard to be her. I would just, all of a sudden, I would have this new obsession, and I'm trying to be that person, and nothing else in the world fucking matters. The thing that I was obsessed with 2 minutes, not anymore, bitch. This is my new thing now. And they, like, very obvious repeated special interests and like hyperfixations. I just feel like I was so obviously autistic as a teenager that somebody should have fucking pulled it out at some point. But it's another one where, like, I don't know if a counsellor tried to bring up to my parents, like, Dana's told us X, Y, and Z, we've noticed this and this, we think she's autistic, and my parents would have just brushed it off. Because I found out after my diagnosis that my mum had had it suggested to her when I was, like, extremely young in primary school, and she just decided that I wasn't. Just, nah. The ends of videos is where I normally try to like have like an upside, a silver lining, a good thing to say. But like being completely honest with you, some of like the best moments that I remember from high school was like, there was one time when I was in Denmark and I'd had some sort of falling out with my best and only friend at the time, and she was the only person in the school that spoke English, so she was the only person I had a chance of having like an actual friendship with, and we'd fallen out and we hadn't been speaking for weeks. And then the science documentary that we had to watch in class had Supermassive Black Hole as like the background music at one point, and it was right after we'd both gotten really fucking obsessed with Twilight, and she turned around and she gave me that smile like, it's our song, bitch, and I was like, it's our song, bitch. Like, moments like that where someone like didn't fucking hate me were the absolute highlights of my high school career. You know, like it was a horrible fucking time, and I never ever want to experience anything like it again. People that liked high school genuinely scare me a little bit, and I've met some lovely people that have been like, oh no, I enjoyed high school, and I'm like, good for you. I don't think it's like you were the terrible person if you liked high school whatsoever. I don't agree with that, but it does scare me a bit. Like, what are you capable of if you're capable of enjoying high school? Like, the potential there is terrifying. But yeah, I think this is one of the longest videos I've ever made. I just wanted to like fucking shove it all into one video, partly because like I feel slightly overwhelmed from it all, just from talking about it now. And there's a level to which, if you didn't have this type of experience, I hope you do too, because that's how it was every single fucking day. You know, like the vast majority of these things were an everyday fucking thing. It was constant, it was all the time, and it was horrible. And that's not even going into the way that I've realised that so many of my sensory issues were definitely at play back in high school. You know, like I had headaches for like most of school, and I would go and get my eyes tested. I would have like, my parents would take me to the doctors and they'd be like, she's fine, so they wouldn't bother with that again, to be fair. But I had so many eye tests because my parents were convinced I must have something wrong with my eyes, because I had constant fucking headaches where I'd be crying and sent home from school. And I know now it's the lighting, because when I'm in buildings that have similar lighting to the ones that, like the lighting that was had, when I'm in buildings that have similar lighting to the lighting we had in school, I get the same like head tension, can't do it, hurty, can't cope, as I did when I was in school. It was the fucking lights the whole time. But yeah, that was my experience of high school. I didn't enjoy it. I'm so glad not to be going back to it. As always, I would love to hear your experiences and how you felt about high school and things like that in the comments. We're all different people with different experiences, but I do honestly feel like a lot of us probably had quite similar ones. Like when I talk to other autistic people in real life, we tend to have had pretty similar experiences of high school and things like that. So prove me wrong if you fancy it, prove me right, I don't care. I mean, I do, I would like you to comment, that's why I've asked. I do care about what you have to say, but also you can say anything. It's not a closed forum. You can say whatever this video brings up for you, whatever thoughts you have. It's all good, it's all fine. I need to stop talking, good lord. You can also find me over on Instagram or TikTok if you want to see more content from me. You can also find me on Patreon or Ko-fi if you want to help me out financially, because I mentioned to you guys the other day, this is getting so long, I'm so sorry, that I need to take Otis to the vet, and they noticed that he apparently has a very slight heart murmur, so he has another vet appointment on the 2nd to see to check that the medication he has for his skin is working, and then to like have a double check and see if the heart murmur is still there, because if it is, he's going to need scans that are going to cost me £420. So if you want to help me out, please fucking do. But otherwise, like, there's no pressure, you don't have to, it's all fine. I'll figure it out, he's my baby. Like, if I need to starve for a month, I will starve for a month. I will make sure he's okay, don't worry. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you have a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.